Hello guys, this is Donald's Movies, and today I will be talking about the Emerald Dream. Now, this is a really big topic and it's going to be in two parts. In this one I'm going to cover the dream itself, and in the second part I'm going to cover the Emerald Nightmare. Now, the Emerald Dream has been a huge part of the Warcraft universe, even though a lot of people are actually unaware of that, and for a long time it was speculated to be the future expansion, and now we know that it's going to be the part of the Legion expansion. So without further ado, let's just get into the lore. The Emerald Dream itself is one of the many planes of the world of Azeroth. A few known ones are the Material Plane, where almost everyone is on, the Spirit Plane, and the Twisting Nether, although the Twisting Nether isn't really connected to Azeroth, but it is a plane of its own where all the demons reside. So, just like the Material Plane, we have the Emerald Dream. Now, the Dream was created by the Titans, and it is a manifestation of the original Azeroth about a second when it was created. So, it is the world way before any of its inhabitants made any changes, before the Sundering and the creation of the continents and the explosion of the Well of Eternity, so it looks a lot different than the current Azeroth. Today, for example, where you have Stormwind, in the Emerald Dream there is like a lush forest and a mountain region, so pretty much how it was meant to be. Another big difference is that the entire plane is more of a spiritual plane instead of a material plane, and the Dream was hardwired by the Titans and no one can really make any changes to them. Sure, you can probably make some minor changes, but eventually it would all revert itself. The Titans also didn't just leave the Dream to not do anything, but instead, once they created the dragon aspects, they put Ysera and her green dragonflight in charge of it. And pretty much until she lost her power and gave the responsibility to the mortals, she was in charge of the Emerald Dream. But that didn't really mean that she had too much power in it. I mean, she couldn't alter the Dream or make any permanent differences or control it in any way. Instead, she was kinda more controlled by the Dream itself, and she used it more as like a guide in order to control the flow and the balance of the nature and the evolutionary path of the world itself. The green dragonflight is not the only inhabitant of the Emerald Dream. There are also many druids and all sorts of different creatures that can find their way to it. And there are two ways one can actually get into the Dream, either through like actually sleeping and dreaming, or physically. The druids, for example, they go into a slumber and they can enter the Dream on purpose, while it is also possible to just like sleep and just think about like a forest or whatever, and you can just find your way inside the Dream. On the physical part, it usually comes down to the use of portals that are scattered all throughout Azeroth, which are guarded by the green dragonflight, but unless there is a reason that you need to go inside, the inhabitants don't take really lightly to intruders. Now the question is, how is it possible to enter a different plane just throughout sleeping? And the answer comes down to the Emerald Dream being a spiritual plane, so the spirit of a person manifests itself usually in the same physical form that you show on the material plane, although some more like advanced druids like Mafurian, for example, the ones that have a lot of experience, they can see beyond the physical reality and they are capable of greatly accelerated movement, walking through solid objects, and generally just things they definitely wouldn't be able to do on the world of Azeroth. At the start of the video, I said that the Emerald Dream has more of an impact than a lot of people think, so I'm just going to elaborate a bit on that. One great example is the defeat of the Burning Legion and Archimonde and the explosion of the World Tree Nordrassil. Now, Nordrassil was created after the first Burning Legion invasion, when Illidan, against everyone's will, created a new smaller Well of Eternity from the vials he took from the original Well of Eternity, and just everyone was in complete panic because we all know what happened with the first Well of Eternity and the entire Burning Legion invasion. So Ysera and two different other aspects decided to help and grow a world tree from an acorn, and what they did is they linked Nordrassil to the Emerald Dream, and the reason Ysera did this was to prevent abuse of the well and the use of arcane powers that the Highborn did earlier, and pretty much just to keep the arcane powers from growing wild. In a sense, the calming energies of the Dream would influence the chaotic energies of the the Well of Eternity. And while calming, it also gave the Night Elven druids the immortality and the ability to access the dream through a pact Malfurion created with Azeroth. So essentially the druids would get the powers of the nature, then they can like request the powers of the nature, but they would like have to do their time in the dream and like help the flow of the nature. And what happened with Nordrassil is that all the spirits like united themselves and just bursted, and that is how Archimonde was defeated. The Emerald Dream also has multiple layers, which are essentially just different versions of Azeroth when it was being created, and a lot of people think that the Titans knew what they were doing and that they were like completely precise. They always had a plan and they just did it and moved from worlds to worlds, but what they did instead is they just tested out stuff constantly, and we can see that from many different attempts that the Titans like created and then later on scrapped and just put it in like a hidden layer of the Emerald Dream. For example, you can see like mountains with only like one side, or maybe they started sculpting like rivers or mountains and they just didn't really like where it was going, so they just scrapped it and like put it aside in a different layer. And usually these versions are uninhabited and can only be accessed by someone who knows how to navigate them, like experienced druids or demigods like scenarios. Alright, and this is about all there is for the dream itself. Now, in the second part of this short series, I'm going to cover the Emerald Nightmare, which is heavily intertwined with the dream and the history of it and all the inhabitants and the creatures, so that should be up in a few days. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, as it really helps out the channel and keeps all the videos going. And thanks a lot for taking your time out of your day to watch this video, and see you next time.